Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to the Alpha Shift podcast. I'm back again with one of our most popular and favorite guests, my dear friend Hugh Toner. We had him on a year ago, and he told us an amazing story of rising to the heights of success, falling to the depths of despair, and rising again. What the relevance of Hugh's story to the audience here at the Alpha Shift was he had gone through a divorce from his wife of, it was about 20 years at the time, his wife
20
for 20 years. And shortly before we did that podcast last year, they remarried. And it is an amazing success story. Hugh, welcome back to the Alpha Shift. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you, David. It's always great to be here and to be with you.
Oh man, what a great story. Before we go into everything, could I just ask for an update? How are things going a year later?
Things are going great. I mean, when you said it was a year, I was shocked. It was like, oh my God, has it been a year or has it been a decade? I don't even know. A lot's transpired since then. We're doing great. We have two beautiful kids, 28 and soon to be 26, Brandon and Lauren. Sandra and I are doing great. An interesting note, it was a journey for me, even getting remarried, even though we were together for 20 years, we were apart for 10 in between that, technically. I was out of the house for 10. And so it took me months to get my bearings and for me to really feel back at home because she had expanded into the whole of the house while I was away. And so it took me a while to go from guest to co-owner again. It was interesting that way, sure.
Yeah,
but no, everybody's doing great.
Cool.
And we have a new addition. We have a Bernie Doodle named Mason. 10 weeks old, beautiful dog. So now there's 2 dogs in the household because Lauren lives with us.
Okay.
And a couple of cats. So yeah, we get lots going on there. So.
You got a heck of a family going on. That's great. So Lauren's back with you guys now, or?
She's been with us. She's studying for her master's in clinical psychology. So she has a business undergrad, and she's working with me while she's doing an online master's program. So she's living with us, and we love to have her. She's great. She's a great dog trainer. So we decided to get our dog, Sandra and I's dog, while Lauren and her dog are in the house because she won't be there forever.
Okay.
And make use of her expertise and get a nicely trained dog.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so I'm very excited. Everything, and you guys are doing okay, considering the significant changes in the world since the last time we spoke. Everything okay.
Well, we're all in healthcare. I'm a pharmacist. My son's a pharmacist, Brandon. Lauren works with us, as I mentioned. Sandra's a nurse practitioner in cardiology. So we're all in healthcare, and we all work through everything that has transpired. And there were unknowns initially. Then we settled into it, but we were open the whole time. I have 2 stores, and my staff was amazing. They ventured into the unknown with us as employees and interested parties, and we weathered whatever came up, and I think we flourished through it all.
Fantastic! I'm so glad to hear it. Yeah, it's great to catch up. I am going to tonight pick your brain a little bit and grab some of your wisdom. The Alpha Shift audience knows, and because I've been telling them for the last few months, I'm finishing up a new course, and I'm going to give you. We're going to preview for the audience some of the material that's in the course. I'm just going to spitball it with you and maybe get some feedback. So anybody who manages to tune into this podcast is going to get a hell of a free sneak preview of what's coming. I'm thinking of calling it the Alpha Code, how any man can be magnetic and attractive, or magnetically attractive. And I based the whole thing on a Taoist principle. There's actually a 20-year-old movie that I used to love, and it was based on a real guy. The movie was called The Tao of Steve. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was
I did not.
It was based on this actual guy who was a part-time kindergarten teacher, wasn't real attractive. He was kind of overweight, and he slept with women left and right. and this girl, she was a she had re- she they all lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and this girl was a recent graduate of New York Film School, and she wanted to actually make a documentary about this guy. And they ended up talking, and she ended up making a movie, which was the Tao of Steve, and it's this 3-step process. And what it does is with Taoist principles, it distills the Steveness of any man. And what that means, it's the 3 Steves. Steve McGarrett from Hawaii 5-0, Steve Austin from the $6 Million Man, and of course the legendary Steve McQueen. 3 guys who are known for being Steve. I mean, he's masculine, he's alpha. The chicks and chicks that for not just in the movies and TV, but like real women. I mean, Ally McGraw left Robert Evans, who was a big producer, to go marry Steve McQueen. I mean, it doesn't get much Stevier than that. And so this process that this guy actually used, and that was highlighted in the movie, and that is kind of at the foundation of everything I do and teach. It's a 3-step process, and I thought, what a great thing to base the course around, because
Mm.
it's understandable. It's like the basics. Like you and I in our success training in our club, we know that there's only a few basics, and you hammer the basics. And so let me explain it to you. I want to get your feedback on it. And the first step
Sure.
is be desireless. When you are
Mm.
in the presence, and this could go, and I maintain with these guys that being desireless is something that could be applicable to a woman you just met and you're hanging out in a cocktail bar. It could be applicable to a woman you're married to. It's where you are not dependent on her for your happiness. You are not dependent on sex for your validation. You are desireless. And
Mm.
for a guy who's just meeting a woman, I mean, if she's beautiful, Hugh, if she is used to having guys fawning all over her, if you are just kicking back with no agenda, because we say women can smell an agenda like shit on a shoe, and you are just kicking back, you are going to be different than 99% of the men that she comes across. You think about it, some of these beautiful, beautiful women get a bad reputation because they have all these like shields that go up, that because they're used to being hit on all the time and accosted, and and now in the days of social media, men blowing them up on Facebook, sending them personal
Mm.
messages.
Mhm.
If you're just like sitting back and desireless, like you don't have a care in the world, and I see women like you literally all the time, whatever, you are going to have this refreshing energy. So that's step one.
Mm. Mm.
And
Nice.
step two is, and I'm giving away, this is the crux of the course that I teach, but I mean, I go into a lot more depth with all this stuff, but
You're throwing the bills around.
I'm
I'm
throwing the
seeing it.
bill. I'm throwing the bills around. I'm giving it out. I'm giving away free cookies. Uh, step two is be excellent. Demonstrate excellence at something. You don't have to be a multimillionaire. You could be, and I talk to guys about having a purpose in life, have a mission in life. That is one way to demonstrate excellence. I have a dear friend. Um, we talk on Facebook a lot. We pass political stuff around, and she put up. It was really cute. It was a picture of her husband, and he was like hanging a picture, and she said, "My husband's got skills," and he had like a level, so it was all strict. It can be something like that. It doesn't.
Right on.
You don't have to have super abilities, but just demonstrate excellence. And the third step is be gone.
What was it?
Be gone. So you have been desireless. You have then demonstrated excellence. Now be gone. That means be scarce. Don't be hanging around. Don't be looking for validation. Don't be texting all the time. Withdraw.
Mm.
We, as human beings, tend to pursue that which withdraws from us. That's like an animal tendency, that you pursue that which retreats.
Yep. Got it.
So what do you what do you think? Did that spark any
Oof.
inspiration? Any,
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and I would imagine that you've probably used many of those in your life as well.
first thing that, and I'm going to say that comes up for me because we're spitballing it, like you
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
And the first thing that comes up for me is the word be. Be, and be. One, two, and three. It's not emulate. It's not mimic. It's be, state of beingness. So I define being as who I am or who you are, who you really are. So you adopt qualities, but you become them. Very powerful. So wonderful words. Um, so I just want to emphasize that you're not playing a role. You're not putting on the show. You're becoming something more than you are.
You just nailed it. You
Okay,
just nailed it. And I go into that in the course about,
great.
I'm not teaching you lines. I'm not
Yeah,
teaching you, there are
yeah.
courses out there because you know how your phone's always listening to you. Um, so I'll be taking
I'm gonna
notes or
shut
something.
mine off now that
Yeah,
you say that. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, your phone's always listening to you and spying on you. And so what'll happen is I'll be like doing some work, and then I'll go on my Facebook, and my Facebook ads are all the other guys who are selling, how to get dates, how to do this, and I see my competition. It's actually it's really easy, and but it's so goofy because it's all about how to get women to respond on Tinder and how to get
mm,
dates and how to get in those pants,
got it.
and it's
Yeah,
like, and you're never going to succeed when you're trying to get.
it's short term, and no disrespect for that journey because we've all been on it. You're born into the world, you have peer pressure, you go to school, you're trying to be like someone else, you're trying to emulate, you're trying to find a sweet spot,
Hmm.
you're trying to define who you're going to be and who you are. But at the end of the day, it's like if you develop certain qualities that make you a man, that make you something, that bring out the best of you, that anyone looking at you would say that's desirable, admirable, and honorable, say, okay, then you're moving in a direction of authenticity, and that's going to be a theme of probably the whole hour, and
Yeah.
and hopefully my whole life. But authenticity is really important. So the short-lived stuff is like, I am my car, I am my house, I am the person that's hanging onto my arm, I am my watch. um, that's all well and good, but when those things define you,
Hmm.
you're something when you have them and you're less than when you don't. Whereas if you live in a state of beingness, that the happiness isn't out there anywhere to define you, it's within, which you and I know how to talk about that and how to enjoy those conversations. It's a journey. It's not easy, but it's worth it. So I love what you're going after and what you're presenting because and you're a champion, and I have to salute that because you're a champion for a group, a demographic that it sounds like we're lost, or we're trying to redefine ourselves, or the world's complicated, and it's getting more technological and more complicated. Like
Oh yeah.
God bless anybody that had to date during COVID, and still looking into that. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
And I didn't plan my escape in November of 2019, but that's basically, I didn't even go through that. But however, had I went into COVID single, I would be fine because I'm fine in my meat suit. I'm fine with who I am. I don't need someone to complete me because I'm complete, and I meet someone to add and enhance my experience.
That's
Big
exactly
difference.
right. That's what I'm
Big
trying. That's
difference.
the big. I think, Hugh. That's the become the biggest part of my mission is not to get you a new wife, not to get you a better relationship with the woman you have, but to get that relationship with yourself. That's the magic. That's the
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah.
That's what, and not everybody wants to hear it. 21-year-old guys are not my ideal clients because they just want to get the dates on Tinder.
Absolutely. And that's it's all okay. And you know, whoever your audience is and wherever they are is perfectly okay. But I guess my message, and part of the reason I'm here, and I guess, and I'm sharing this with you, is that when you embark on a journey of self-discovery like I have and like you have and like many people we know have, it's only the beginning. So a journey of self-discovery is not going out to into the world to see what you bring back. It's going turning your eyeballs inside out and going inside and seeing what you already have and what you already bring to the world and what's latent and available to enhance and just proliferate who you are. Amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, we're all beautiful souls. Every single one of us. Doesn't matter how we present ourselves in the world.
No.
We just get a little lost sometimes.
Yeah, we just get a little lost sometimes. I got to say, Hugh, going into COVID, I had not done that deepest work. I was busy. I was building a business. I was hustling. I was sorting out a few financial things. And so I didn't have time to meditate all day and spend hours looking inward. Well, COVID hit and all of a sudden I had some time for months on
Wow.
end. And
Wow.
it transformed the way that I look at the alpha shift and what I'm doing here. I began this journey 3 years ago now, and I was in a very different place. I was in a relationship that was falling apart, and I was never going to be in that place again. And I was going to, again, I had learned so much over the course of 10 years, and some patterns had repeated. And so I was going to, this was going to be my journey of recovery and of just making sure that everything went my way from now on. And it's now changed. It's now become the relationship with myself
Mm,
and the unbelievable power and the way it has transformed my relationships with women powerfully. And
really?
yes, powerfully.
Do you want
And
to talk a little bit about that, or?
I can't, they all watch the podcast, Hugh. So,
All right, all right. We'll keep that
but
our little secret.
yeah, but even just in casual relations, the energy
Yeah,
between people it's unbelievably different.
yeah.
Um, when you get to that place where you're really not looking for any validation, it's unbelievable. And I never realized how much I was shooting myself in the foot before in past relationships. And that's being harsh, but it's like, you really do kind of create your own successes and you create your own failures, whether you're conscious of it or not. And
Ain't that
so
a great thing?
it is a great thing.
And I
And
say that, and I'll say that, and I'll define that for you. And I think I said it in the last podcast, but like, if if the only person in the equation that has to change is me, wouldn't that be slightly easier than changing every relationship around you? If I change me and the world changes, Bob's your uncle, man.
yeah, that's
We're
right.
smoking, right?
Yeah, you could, because you don't have enough time and energy to change everyone else.
It
And
ain't
to
gonna
or
happen.
It
Doesn't
ain't
work.
gonna happen. Yes, and that's another thing we talk about in the course is, needing other people to be different. It's a spiritual principle. Don't need other people to be different. They do not have power. Don't give them that
Mm,
power, that false
mm,
power over you. And so, yeah, when you can come to that place, it is tremendously freeing. It is uplifting. And now I'm in a place where I'm kind of good where I'm at. I'm kind of lazy. I don't really need to go run out and, Tinder or bars or wherever I don't really need to.
yeah.
It's great if I can, if I can, but and that's kind of that magic nut you want to hit, is where you don't, you're good with it. You're good without it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very attractive. It's very attractive.
It's
And I've been watching you on occasion, like in the last year.
Mhm.
We've had some interactions, and I've seen you grow. And I know you've done a lot of growing before that, but even there's um there's something happening with you. The beard. Um, there's a confidence, a renewed confidence about you, and a humility about you that I see in some of the interactions that we have, where
Thank you.
you're just there's a blossoming from within and a strength surfacing.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It's been a journey. It's been a lot of work. It's been taken a lot of humility and self honesty. But I decided I really, really want to break through, and that I really wanted to end some patterns that had been holding me back. And COVID did it. I mean, the
Mm,
opportunity, I should say, the opportunity to slow down and pivot. is
Nice.
is what did it.
Something that again comes up for me is that your listeners are going to be all over the board. There's going to be some that are angry. There are going to be some that are hurt. That are some that are depressed. Some that are vengeful.
Mhm.
Some that just have been laying on the nail long enough that it's time for a change.
Yeah.
So all the different stages of readiness, it's perfect.
Yeah.
But know that where you are is okay, is great,
Yes.
because it can, you can get there from anywhere on the path, because it
Yes.
is a path. It's not a light switch. And so you evolve, and many of my successes in life have come about because I've laid on the nail long enough that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And I want, I don't, I realize that there's a nail and I don't want to be on it anymore. So I hit that moment where that's it. We talked about a decision last time, and I make a new decision.
Mhm.
And um fortunately and unfortunately, most times it has to come to that. It has to
Mhm.
come to a head.
Yeah. That's human nature, Hugh.
Mm,
It's like we don't, necessity is the mother of invention. And sometimes
mm.
we don't get going until it hurts bad enough. And so that, yeah, the dog on the nail is like the greatest analogy, because that's
It
exactly, I
is.
can say
It
the
is.
same thing. I
Tell the
have
story. Tell the
Okay.
story so they.
The story that we've heard in our training was, it went something like, a woman goes into an old like a country general store, and there's a straw chewing farmer sitting on the porch in the front, and there's a dog, his dog presumably, who's laying in front of him, and the dog, every several seconds, makes like a whimper, like a "Arr, arr." And the lady says to the farmer, "What's wrong with the dog?" The farmer says, "Well, he's laying on a nail." And she says, "Well, why doesn't he get off the nail?" And he says, "Well, it doesn't hurt him that much." And
Exactly.
so sometimes when we are in, maybe a crappy relationship, or a crappy job,
Mhm.
that for us is the nail, that it's okay. It kind of sucks, but it doesn't hurt that bad. And so we just kind of get through it every day until the next day. And then it's Friday, and with the weekend, and then it's Monday, and we just keep going through that life,
Mhm.
and nothing
Mhm.
changes. It's because the nail doesn't hurt that bad. And so sometimes we don't really see change in our lives until we have a crisis.
Mhm.
Um, and I've had relationships like that went along okay for a while, until there was some sort of a blow up, or a crisis, and then the change happens. And unfortunately, I mean, I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's just that that's what the universe throws at us,
Mhm.
for us to grow. It doesn't usually come from a comfortable place. And
Mhm.
we seem to want to always get to a place where nothing's changing, and we feel great, we're comfortable, and everything's happy go lucky. But unfortunately, that's not where the growth comes from. It's, you got to, you know,
Well, I'm gonna
until
get a
you,
little less. I'm gonna get a little esoteric on you. Tell me something in the physical world that doesn't change. Nothing. Everything changes. And if it
everything.
looks like it's the same, it's changing to the same. So
Mhm.
things are always moving, shaping, and morphing, whether we uh, say that we're open to change or not.
Yeah.
Like, no, I tell people nobody gets out of here alive. You can hide in your basement for 70 years and die on a cot,
Yeah.
but you ain't getting out of here alive.
You ain't getting out of
So
here
you might as
alive.
well experience life.
I mean,
I
how
was
often? I mean, we have a brand new body, like what is it, every 7 years?
7 years or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's
yeah.
amazing to me.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me. Like,
When
say if I had a cancer growth in my liver, and I I I had it in my second 7 years of my life. So say if we every 7 years, every single cell is transformed, is
Mhm,
renewed. Every
mhm,
single cell, 50 trillion cells. And in my second 7 years, I have it for another 7 years. Like, say if it started the last year of the first seven, and then I kept it for the next. It's like, how is it that if every cell is renewed and changed, how is it that that cancer cell's still there? that cancer tumor.
You're recreating it.
You're recreating it.
Yep.
That's incredible to me, right?
Yep. Yep. When I learned
So,
when I
yeah,
learned
something
that,
to think
Hugh,
about.
I thought, you know, and using the body as an example, I thought I can recreate my body over time. And I will now reveal to the audience I am 47 years of age. And
Young
and
man,
and,
young
and
man.
I thought it was old. And let me tell you something. I have changed. I mean, this is I'm going to get a little weird on you. I have literally altered my hairline and like I use this stuff, and I have this medical device that accelerates like my blood flow circulation. And I swear to God, aside from the beard, I think I look younger than I did 5-10 years ago.
Well,
And
the beard is distinguished looking, and I'll give you that. And what you're describing to me is a man that um, is doing some of the heavy lifting. Like you have a mission. There's something you want to share.
yeah,
There's something you want to experience in life, and you want to be the vessel, the recipient of what's coming. So you're doing the work.
doing the work. Thank you.
Good
Yeah,
on you, man.
thank you. Yes, this is what it is. It's doing the work. It's making a commitment to creating what you want to create, creating the you want to create. This is the magic that I try to tell people. I try to tell these guys. It's like they think that the big trap is thinking that the right circumstance or the right relationship is going to somehow validate you and make you happy. It won't.
Mm.
It won't. I mean,
It
you
might for a little while.
for a little
It's
while,
like
yeah.
it's like the old story: buy me a car and I'll be happy for a couple of days.
Yeah,
You
right.
know.
You could get that cute hot girl and be like woohoo for a month or however long that honeymoon phase goes on, and then real life's going to kick in. You being you is going to kick in, and if you attracted from a place of lack, you might find she's got some problems too. We've all been there,
Mhm.
you know.
The other thing that's important is the way I look at the world now is that I believe that there aren't any coincidences. Like the people that show up in my life,
Mhm.
whether they're customers at my store or family members or getting my reunited with my wife, or even if I'm in a bar and the people that are in my sphere
Mhm.
surround me, I really believe that there's no real coincidences. Like if I don't like who I'm hanging around with, I had a lot to do with the creation of that event.
Yes.
So so and I say that to bring you back to the relationship uh, conversation,
Mhm.
where if she's gorgeous, and then within a short month the veil comes down and you see this person that that really isn't that desirable to you on
Mhm.
the inside.
Mhm.
What I do now is I say, why is she in my living room? She's in my living room because that's what I'm vibrating, and that's okay. But what I'm looking at, who I'm looking at, is where I am. So in order to attract a higher caliber or someone that's more compatible to you, I have some work to do on the inside. And as I change, my surroundings, my people, those interactions, those relationships change.
Oh yeah, I got to share this because you got me thinking about a couple of things. I recently realized, because I know that I don't get to be, I'm probably not going to be single and living the life of Riley forever. There's
Mhm.
probably another one coming at some point.
I can see
And,
it.
and, um, but what I thought about within and what I came to realize, through meditation is that I'm going to have to start getting excited about other things than I used to. If you want, like, we want a woman who's kind and who is giving and who is maybe a little bit more relationship minded, a little bit more family minded. Well, you're going to have to start responding. Meaning me. I'm going to have to start responding to that, and not responding to who looks awesome in a tight skirt and open toed shoes. And so it's like I'm going to have to like make some internal changes. About I mean because we tend to, in matters of love, we just kind of go on impulse, and what we respond to, like in men, we are very visual, and
Mm,
when men fall in love in 5 seconds,
mm,
women actually do it right. They take much longer to fall and they
Sometimes,
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 sometimes. Well, yeah, and it's, of course, if she's in love with you seemingly right off the bat, she's probably been scoping you out from afar for longer than you
maybe.
realize.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and but yeah, they do take a little bit longer. I mean, we can just look at that perfect silhouette and it's like, yes, I must have her.
right
And
there.
I'm showing how superficial I've been in the past. But and the other point I wanted to make to you, based on what you were saying, was when we look at it, she's in my living room. Why? How did I attract that? I got to tell you, my last relationship, which was more than 5 years, I it went as the relationship was coming apart. I noticed patterns of me feeling abandoned and the things that were very similar to when I was parting with my ex-wife, which was about 11 years ago now. And what happened was I was going through, as I was sad one night, I was looking through my journal, um, from the time that her and I first got together, this girlfriend, and I was journaling about my ex-wife and feeling abandoned by the ex-wife. Right as the girlfriend and I were getting together. So it was like there it was in white paper, pen with blue ink,
Oh,
evidence of what I was vibrating at the time I got together with this person.
fair ball, fair
Yeah,
ball. But
and
isn't it great to realize that? Because with that realization, like, you can't change what you don't know.
correct.
So the self-awareness piece is so important, and that's one of the greatest journeys of all,
Yeah.
because there's no you can't go too deep into self-awareness. So as you learn, know thyself, as you get to know
Yes.
who you are, you know your strengths better and your weaknesses better, and you know what you might want to work on, or some of the traits and conditioning you might want to drop or morph or
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
And now the the canvas and the paintbrush is in your hands. But if you don't know who you are, or you're blind. Like, say if um if somebody watched this interview, or say for example somebody was watching me at work or whatever,
Mhm.
and there was a panel of three people followed me all day, and then they did a report on what they saw.
Mhm.
If I was shocked at the end of the day with that report, I'm blind to who I am, to what I'm presenting to the world.
Mhm.
Um, if I'm not shocked, then maybe I know. It's hard to see yourself because we all have blind spots.
Oh yeah.
But think about that. Like, you know, I talk a lot. Like, I know that I sometimes I get excited, and I take over conversation sometimes. For example, self awareness,
Mhm.
and it's something I need to work on, because sometimes I just feel I have so much that I've learned that I want to share. But as I deepen and grow, I realize that I can't learn anything if I do all the talking,
Right.
because
Right.
all the learning is with everyone I meet and what they have to share with me.
Sure.
So if I meet a bum on the street, I may learn compassion. I may learn what not to do to become successful.
Right.
So from everybody I learn, or I meet somebody else at another place in their life. So everyone's my teacher.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share that a little bit, because um, there's always things to work on. But if we don't, first of all, you want to know who you want to be and become, bring us back to the three B's
Yes.
of Steve.
Yeah.
And you can't change what you don't know. You can't change
Can't
what's in your
change.
blind spot.
You can't change what you don't know. And Hugh, the reality, I'll tell you, for someone who's just recently this year been going through this transformation, sometimes you have to almost be willing to step away and take a sabbatical from your dating life. I guess if you were married, you couldn't really do this, but a lot of guys are finding themselves separated and single. And sometimes you have to take a deliberate step away from dating, from being, constantly sexually active, and go within and really, do the work to figure out who you are. Because I kind of fell into it circumstantially. I wasn't dating anyone, steadily, and then COVID hit, and we all kind of locked down, and I just took the opportunity and ran with it. and it's been unbelievable. And the greatest thing I released was the expectation that I had to be married or dating, and it's just and a big one that I've let go of, and it could still happen, is that I have to have kids because
Hmm.
and that was a pressure I put on myself.
Hmm.
Why am I not like my college and high school friends? Why am I not living this suburban life, the 3-bedroom house, the 2.5 kids and the 1.5 dogs and the mortgage and the 2 car, whatever it is, that life. And it was a bone of contention with myself that I wasn't normal like everyone else,
Of
and
course.
I've come to embrace it now. That maybe I have a unique mission that wouldn't quite be so easy if I was, living that life. I used to have a co-host here on the podcast, and he literally had that exact opposite life of me. And he said to me, he said, Dave, it's not better, it's different. It's a different
Hmm.
way to go. And he reminded me that someone in that position has just as many challenges, and it's not always wonderful and utopian and everything. And so that really opened my eyes too.
It's interesting because as you were speaking, I'm thinking you can actually have kids without having kids. You know,
Yeah.
um, there's lots of people that need uh, a hand up and guidance and some leadership. I mean, I just made a change in my money manager, my financial advisor,
Okay.
and I'm in a position where I need really good guidance because it's growing. So, um, and he's one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. He's intelligent. He's good at everything he puts his hand to. He's a scratch golfer. He's
Oh wow.
extremely intelligent. Spent 12 years in the States where he was a superintendent of a huge school board.
Okay.
Um, and he just landed in Cape Breton and kind of to retire. So he's a financial advisor, and he's taking on all these clients that aren't paying him anything, like they're kids,
Hmm.
no money, all in debt, but with a willingness to change. And him and his wife of 12 years, he's becoming a dear, dear friend of mine.
Hmm.
Who do you listen to? Him
Yeah.
and his wife of 12 years tried and couldn't have any children. Or no, 21 years, couldn't have any children. And he's close to my age. And well, the people that he's surrounding himself and mentoring as a leadership coach or whatever you want to call it, like the guy, it's pro bono, man. 50% of his work. Like he's not poor. He's fine,
Yeah.
but he sees a bigger picture. So I say that to tell you that there's different ways to help children.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I kind of sometimes think about like all the guys who write into the Alpha Shift and buy my courses are kind of like my children. They're not young. They're not young. They're not young. Some of them are a little closer to my age, but it's like I like that. For me personally, I really like having a mission that involves helping people and uplifting them because it does kind of encompass that. And it does give me some of that fulfillment.
Well, I mean, we're all in it together, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that we set an energy forth in our lives, a trajectory, if you will,
Mhm.
as to where we're going based on desires that we've planted at some point in our existence, I guess.
Yes.
And I was listening to an audio today, an audio of
Mhm.
some of the material that you and I study.
Yeah.
I've heard it before, but I never heard it before. Now, and it was when you get to the point where you rise above a good situation and a bad situation, and what they become is just two different experiences.
Mhm.
You're really onto something because at that point, they're just a different ride in the park. And that's deep because happiness is my number one objective.
Okay.
And it's not like a college degree. You don't get a happiness plaque, put it on your wall, and you're happy forever after. It fluctuates.
Yes.
And I fluctuate. I tell people like I'm a very intense person. I experience great joy and I experience sadness, deep sadness at times. I fluctuate, and the way I describe it is I play. My piano has more than 88 keys. I have higher keys and lower keys.
Okay. Hugh, what would your piece of advice be for the listeners? What is happiness and how do
Mm.
they get happy?
How do you get anything? It would be how I start the answer. And how you get anything is you point your compass towards it, because you get what you focus on. You become what you think about most of the time. So if I'm bitching and whining and complaining and watching what Trump's doing every minute of the day, God bless him, and I'm absorbed in the gossip in the coffee shops and and belittling people, and just that's where I spend my time and energy. You know, that's all good, but I'm beyond that now, and it doesn't serve me. And sometimes I slip, but I dust myself off and move forward again. But you, I can't find happiness if I'm pointed in the wrong direction. So the first thing you got to do is you have to acknowledge that that's important to you. And I just got done saying that's not only important to me, it's my number one goal. And I constantly, let's use that word again, self-awareness. I'm constantly monitoring um, my happiness quotient all day. I'm obsessed with it.
Mm,
I think about it all the time because I've experienced such a wide range of emotions, and I used to beat myself up over it. But I realize that I'm blessed because I have access to a whole garden, an extended garden of emotions. And if they weren't valuable, I wouldn't have been given them. So,
mm.
to start, I would say you have to aim for it. So if you want to be
Okay.
wealthy, if you want to be happy, if you want to attract a beautiful woman, well, you have to have that desire is the first step.
Okay.
If you want
Uh,
me to expound on that,
Yeah,
I can do
yes,
that. But
yes. Well, yes. This is gold, Hugh. This is gold.
so ask your question again. How do you be happy? How do you be happy?
Yeah, yeah, because guys are pretty unhappy. How
Okay.
do they? And from someone who has, we have in this podcast seen do some amazing things. How do we achieve happiness? How do we get that goal of being happy?
Okay.
And maybe like explain it as like how you would get any goal. You were going there. I like that.
My answer might not be that palatable for most people, but I'm going to tell you what I think the answer is
Oh, let's
from
do
my
it.
experience.
Okay.
Happiness isn't out there. Happiness is in here. So it's not a prize to be gathered, garnished, fought for, and won. It's an experience that I have on the inside that that is shown back to the world from the inside out. So it's that you're happier now than you were in October. From the sounds of it, from the
Oh
looks of
yeah.
it, you're a different person. You've
Yes.
done some work.
Yes.
So it's not a light switch, it's a journey. So the the first step, in my opinion, I've never really been asked that direct question, and I've never really written down A, B, and C. But my first step would be make it a target, make it
Okay.
yeah, not a destination. That's not the right word, but make it important to you.
Yes. Make it a priority and a target. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So because that's where you're going to head, and you can pick anything in your life that you've put your focused attention on, and you can say, yes, it works. I've done it with wealth. I've done it with my marriage. I've done it with my family. I've done it
Yes.
with work. I've done it with singing. I've done it in music. I've I've done it, and we've all done it in different
Yes.
ways. Some people it's golf.
Yeah.
Um, and the second thing, there may be little mini steps in between, but the second thing is that realize that it's not out there,
Mm.
that it's an inward journey. And if it's an inward journey, then be willing to go inward. Now, how the fuck do you do that?
Oh. Well,
How do
pandemics
you do
help.
that?
Pandemics help.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, you're laughing, but that's a great answer.
I
So
think I would my answer, what I would throw in there is you have to be willing to slow down and subtract some of the busyness in your life, and that can be hard.
you hit upon something really big for me. So and so where do you learn that? Well, there's all kinds of books, and I have a good friend of mine that's going to have a program called the Tao of Steve, with a part one, two, and three, where you
Yep,
can start to explore some of those things. Maybe I assume there's going to be some of that in there.
yep,
The
oh
word
yeah,
happiness was in step one.
yep,
Um, so there's all kinds of books and written in all kinds of formats, and audios and audibles and podcasts, and people that are willing to give you a perspective on happiness. It's again, it's where what do you want to focus on? Like, I don't, forgive me, just believe this. I don't watch TV much. I mean, Sandra and I sit in bed and we watch Netflix. Like we'll have something going on, but I don't watch any news.
right.
I don't read any newspapers. I I'm I live under a rock, and I'm proud of it. And sometimes I wear it on my sleeve, but I say it because it's my way, and I've been doing it. So I started as an experiment about 10 or 15 years ago,
Okay.
because I felt like the news and the media, there was an awful lot of negativity in there that didn't serve me.
I
And
would
so,
flat
and
out call it mind control. I tell these guys, do not watch the news.
yeah,
Do not let the media do that to you.
and even everybody in the media isn't evil,
No.
because everybody's got a job. They're doing their thing. They're doing the best they can. And maybe there's some people that are pulling the strings in behind. That's all good.
Yeah.
But I said, like, if I'm going to do the work to get happy or find happiness inside, then I have to take some things away,
Mm.
because it's usually like we're naturally happy. You look at a newborn baby, it's goo goo,
Yeah.
goggling, googling,
Yeah.
or look at a new puppy, tail wagging, whacking you in the face, like
Yeah.
full of love and joy.
Yeah.
We come into the world like that, and we're trained out of it. So the journey to happiness sounds kind of crazy, but it's
Mhm.
almost a taking away of. It's a stripping away of the things that have coated you with things that are unnaturally unhappy.
That's exactly it. Hugh, so many of the healing modalities, the natural healing modalities that we explore, tapping, best, and Reiki, some of these other, it's all about taking away. It's about taking away energetic blockages, about clearing
Mm,
trapped energies in the body, trapped energies in the mind. All the junk that you just mentioned that we collect along the way that trains the happiness, that the natural upliftedness out of us. That's why we're
yeah,
not the puppy with the tail wagging anymore.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So,
Yeah.
like, say for example, you got a beautiful car, you got a you know BMW, top of the line BMW, X5 or whatever it is, and you love it. So you pull up to the gas station, and you drive past the pumps, and you go to a guy that's got a fruit stand, and they're all rotten, and you start squeezing all this shit and junk and oil into your gas tank, instead of putting top grade fuel in it,
Right.
which is the manual says you really should do to have the engine perform the way it should.
Yeah, you really should do
And
that.
then you eventually start sputtering down the road, and you wonder why your car isn't performing the way it should. So that extend that metaphor to your health, what you take in your mouth, what you
Yep.
drink,
Yep.
but also extend that metaphor to how you think. What do you put in your
What are you putting in your
mind,
head?
in
Yep.
your head, in your brain, in your mind? What are you filling yourself up? What are you feeding yourself day
Yes.
in, day out? And I
Yes.
mean, it's magnetic. It's wherever you are, it's hard to break out of it, because you've created those neural pathways in your brain
Yeah.
that make it real easy to glide down those same patterns, because you've been doing it your whole life.
Yeah.
So that's why it's hard to get off the nail. And I know I'm talking a lot right now. I'm trying to answer the question, but
No, no, you're doing great. You're doing
it's,
great.
it's it's coming to me.
Yeah.
Um, so you know, if you like what you're experiencing, if you like what's showing up in your life, keep doing it,
Keep doing it.
because it's not a nail to you.
Right.
Like, if you're banging everything in sight and you're just going around like a 3-year-old hound,
Yeah.
and enjoying that and it's working for you, great. But most of us get to a point where for whatever reason you can't get it up, or maybe and maybe part of the reason you can't is because it's what's going on between your ears, because you got seven different games going on.
Let me tell you something, Hugh. I did a survey right before I started doing this new course. I emailed my list, my subscribers, and I did a survey of the top, 7, 8 things that were troubling men. And the number one thing was I can't get an erection. I was blown away by that. I
And
was
what's your demographics? 35 to 45?
35 to about 55.
55? So
Yeah,
I'm almost in your demographic. I'm in your
you're
demographic.
you're in the demographic, and you know what? Nobody should. I mean, and you should never. And not to get personal, you're a healthy guy. You should never have a problem. You should be getting healthy boners till you're dead.
Yep.
And
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 that's true. I believe that. Like
and
I know a guy, and you know him too. He's I would actually call him a guru. He's probably not one of the highest vibrating people that I know on the
Mhm,
planet. I've taken a couple of courses from him and stuff, and he's 78 years old and one of the strongest men in America.
mhm.
Literally, you know who I'm talking
Oh, I
about.
know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Um, and that guy's healthy as a horse. I mean, top to bottom, and it's not an accident because he treats his body and his mind and everything that way. You
Like a
know,
temple.
yeah. But so what are we talking? You just bring me back.
I was talking.
Oh yeah,
Talking
just about how
you were talking about how sometimes you can't get an erection because of what's going on between your
mm,
ears.
mm,
And that was something I addressed with them because that's primarily what it is. And I started going there. I said I did give them some recommendations for some herbs that they can take, some of which were recommended to me by that very same guy. And so if you are at a place where your circulation ain't great, maybe you're feeling a little lethargic, and your erections, we're just talking about boners now, aren't what they could be. There are things to help with that. But if
yeah,
you have straight up erectile
there you go.
dysfunction, it's usually because your brain and your heart is stopping you, trying to protect you. I've learned all about this because I went through it after
Mm,
my divorce. It's
mm,
trying to protect you from doing something that's going to harm you. When you
mm.
are about to, get ready for sexual activity, in your pelvis, there's a series of muscles that need to relax so that, like, a penis is basically a hydraulic pump,
Mm.
and so blood can flow into it. But if you're nervous, those muscles get tense, and so
Wow.
it's tension that causes ED. I
That
never
inhibits. That
inhibits.
inhibits.
It
Yeah.
inhibits. And
Wow.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like you've got to clear out your emotional gunk. That's like the
Mm.
number one. Then I can give you some cool Chinese herbs that'll make you like Captain America.
There
Or
you
what?
go. Now listen. Um, let's go back to desire.
Yeah.
You can't you can't go anywhere down this conversation if you're happy where you are. Like, and I say happy where you are. If you're um, stuck where you are,
Right.
like if you don't want to be happy, that's okay. Or if you're happy doing what you're doing, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you how to live. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that if you get sick and tired of being sick and tired and you want an alternative, and then the material falls second, third, or fifth to your happiness,
Yeah.
which is something you couldn't bring me a bucket of happiness, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
it's not physical.
No.
So there's a spiritual component. So you're Wayne Dyer has a great movie out. He passed away 5 years ago or so now, but The Shift. Oh man, have
Oh,
you
I
ever
love
seen
that
that?
movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I've
Yes. I
watched it a
love that
few times,
movie.
and I mean it's very interesting because he talks about men and women and before the shift and after the shift. And there's a scene in the movie where he goes down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top priorities of a man, and I think of your list,
No.
your subscribers, of what was important to them before they had this shift.
Mhm.
And and this ties into what we're talking about, because what I call the shift, which it's just clicking for me now, is the shift from material, maybe,
Yeah.
or a focus on the outside satisfying you. And
Hmm.
a yacht's going to make me happy, a car's going to make me happy, a beautiful woman, that's, as long as she looks good on the outside, is going to,
Right.
it's all fine. But when you shift your focus from that to, and you try it long enough, and you become a 5 millionaire, 10 millionaire, and you can bang anyone you want all day long on your yacht, whatever.
On your yacht.
And right, it's
Yeah.
great, it's great.
Yeah.
Or in your Beamer,
Hmm.
and then you realize that that's not making you happy anymore.
That's the big.
Oh, Jim
That's the
Carrey
big.
went through a crazy shift.
That's the big bump.
Crazy
Is
shift.
they achieve it and they realize that's not the key to happiness.
And like Jim Carrey said, like, I saw a quote the other day. He said, I wish everyone could experience what I'd become a 10 millionaire and realize that it's not it. That's not the
I've
answer.
seen that quote
That's
from him. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing. So anyway, this shift that Wayne from his movie, from the 5 most important things in your life before and after the shift, is amazing for guys,
Yeah.
and it's amazing for women
Do you
because
remember?
we
Do
both.
you remember what he said the top 5 things were?
I couldn't rhyme them off, but
Okay.
like, but they were material based,
Yeah.
and then it was feeling based. It was like happiness was number 1, and maybe happiness was number 5 in the first list,
Sure.
but dominating was number 1, or uh, whatever, how you looked.
Yeah.
Or
Looking good, making money.
number 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, making money, whatever. And nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. It's not good or bad.
Right.
They're all experiences. But what I'm saying is that as you get older and your timeline starts to diminish, with all due respect to the 50-something-year-olds or
Yeah.
60s,
Yeah.
your priorities start to change.
Yeah.
And then it's what really matters to me. What really matters, And I've often seen people go from one relationship to another. And quite frankly, sometimes their third wife isn't as beautiful as their first wife
Hmm.
on the surface,
Hmm.
but she's 10 times more beautiful on the inside.
Yes.
And I mean that both to a guy and a girl. Like, have you never seen the most beautiful girl in high school date the most beautiful guy in high school? And fast forward 20 years, the guy she's with now is plainer than the first guy,
Yeah.
but super genuine,
Yeah.
and super giving and super talented at supporting and nurturing and doing the things that she needed. And she needed to blow a tire a couple of times to find what really mattered.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to go down that road and go for the hot guy, the hot girl, and, kind of blow the tire, as you say, before you're ready to really listen and to reprioritize and go for what's really important.
And another piece I want to add to that, because it's important to say, is you don't have to give any of that away. You don't have to give the beauty away.
Right.
They don't have to be less beautiful on the outside.
No.
Like, it's whatever you want. You just have to aim your focus that way and ask for what you want.
Ask for
But
what you want.
I'm getting low here. Geez, I'm gonna have to plug in, I guess.
Okay.
Um, and that's it's easier said than done. But like, how do you ask for what you want? You experience the other, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I share a confession with you, Hugh? I was at a place where I was feeling I wasn't getting where I wanted in my life as fast as I thought I should. And what I came to realize during my deep inward dive during these lockdown months was that my mind was scattered. There was nothing wrong. I just wasn't doing what I had been taught to do, which was think about what you want most of the time. My mind was, I had scattered my priorities over many tasks and many things, and I wasn't thinking about one major chief aim all of the time. So nothing was really lining up because I wasn't pouring the gas where it needed to go.
And you know better than that.
I know
And I know
better
you
than
know
that.
better than that.
I know better than that. And so that's my confession.
Well,
I
let me well, there's a famous phrase that we use in our club, and it's 5 minutes to learn, a lifetime to
lifetime to
master.
master. Yeah.
And it's not about being perfect at anything, but what if every experience led you to a higher place? What if every so-called negative was the key to open the door to the next door that leads to the next door that leads to happiness?
I believe that's exactly the case.
So was it a bad thing after all? Like, I mean, I experienced this, part of my story is I experienced deep, dark depression in university, and it was bad. I couldn't get out of bed for a while there. And I mean, I'm a smart guy. I had a lot going for me, and I was in trouble. And if you were to ask me, would you, if I could take you back like Scrooge movie and change with my
Mhm.
magic wand and change that and have it never have happened, would you want that? And I'd say absolutely not.
No.
And then why is that? And my answer would be because it was the catapult. I spent from that moment on, I spent the rest of my life searching for happiness,
Mhm.
searching for the answers to never experience that darkness again. And what do I do for a living? I'm a
You're a
pharmacist. What
pharmacist.
do I counsel people? What's my specialty in pharmacy? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Mental health. Mental health.
Perfect.
And what has helped generate my success and wealth? Mental health.
Mental health, the very thing, that's that very nail that you had to get up off of is the
Mm,
thing that generated your success in life.
mm,
Perfect. Yeah, I so appreciate you sharing that. I was thinking in my own life, I wouldn't give anything back. You know, anything that that I was whining about at the time because it was a tough experience. I wouldn't give a single thing back. Not a single divorce, not a single financial calamity, not a single surprise that wasn't welcome at the time. I wouldn't give any of it
You know what my argument for that is?
back.
If we were to have a debate about it,
Hmm.
my argument is that it was all perfect because everything that happened to me had to happen to me for me to be who I am today. And the
Hmm.
proof is who I am today.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's a culmination of my lifetime of experiences.
It is a
And it's
culmination of your lifetime of experiences.
and it's all perfect
It's all perfect.
because we are perfection.
We are. Yes. And it's
And
just
anything that isn't is an illusion. It's something you've added. It's the mud that you've put over the golden Buddha.
or maybe another good metaphor for that would be it's the dirt on the lens on the camera or on the window.
There you go. There you go.
Exactly. Hugh, I think I'm going to call this episode "Happiness is an Inside Job."
Oh,
Happiness is an inside job. I think that's
beautiful,
what we're going to call this
beautiful,
one.
beautiful,
Thank you
beautiful.
so much for being with us tonight. This was profound. I mean, we started with revisiting your story, and I think we went to a great place. And it was such a privilege for me to have another high level gin member here where we could just spitball and talk about the real thing. And I gave the audience a few confessions and, and,
You know what I call that?
what do you call
Authentic.
it? Authentic.
Authenticity. And I
And
love it. And it looks good on you.
thank you. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you for being here with us and for checking back in and for sharing your wisdom and your love and, just you. And I just want to thank you so much, everybody. Hugh Toner, my dear friend and massive success story. We will see you again shortly in the next episode. Have a great night. Love you guys. Good night, Hugh. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.